Hello, my name is Tracy Allen and I want to welcome you to Cooking with Some Friends. Good morning and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. This morning I'm going to share with you a recipe that was shared with me by a neighbor recently, and this recipe is called the Snickerdoodle Apple Cobbler, and I've made a few adjustments just because of my personal preferences. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to peel and slice 5 to 6 apples, and I prefer Granny Smith apples just for their tartness and how they hold up in a recipe, but you could use other types of apples that you have on hand. In fact, this gave me an opportunity to use up some of my Granny Smiths that I needed to use. So I went ahead and peeled and sliced those, and then I put them in a little bit of lemon juice just so they didn't brown until I was ready to use them. Then I drained them in a colander, and I added them to a medium-sized skillet that I had melted a half a stick of butter, a half a cup of brown sugar, and added a half a teaspoon of cinnamon to. Now that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to go ahead and cook these until they become fork tender, and that should take about 8 to 10 minutes. While those are cooking, we can go ahead and start on the second part of our recipe, the actual cobbler part. And this is a very simple recipe. It calls for a package of Snickerdoodle cookie mix, and to that, let's get this open. We're going to dump that in our bowl. Cinnamon sugar mix. Now you can use this, or you can make up your own cinnamon sugar mix if you would prefer, which I've done. So to that cookie mix, we're going to add a stick of butter, or half a cup, whichever you prefer to call it. And we're also going to add 1 egg. And then we're going to mix that up until it becomes a dough. Stir my apples a little bit. They're starting to get tender right now, so you can see that they're starting to lose some of that cellulose, is starting to soften a little bit. Okay. I've already gone ahead too and preheated my oven to 375. I've also sprayed my 8-inch casserole dish to have it ready, and so those things are done ahead of time. It makes your job a whole lot easier when the time comes. Okay, the dough is starting to form. The apples are softening. Now, when you're done with this, if you're going to do extra and have it stored ahead of time, make sure before you store it, you go ahead and cool it completely. Just to get rid of some of that heat that you're not adding to your refrigerator, your freezer, or your container. So, okay. Now you could probably even use your homemade Snickerdoodle recipe if you have one that you prefer. But again, this just is an easy recipe that she shared. Okay, now I'm going to take this cookie dough that we've got mixed up, and I'm going to take about half of it, and I'm going to just dot the bottom of my casserole dish with that cookie dough. Let's get it all mixed up. Turn that down just a tad bit. Okay. So, casserole ready, and again I'm just going to take about half of the dough, and by what would be tablespoons or spoonfuls. I'm just going to dot the bottom of this. Gives a little bit of air so that they'll rise up separately. Just go ahead and crumble it over the bottom. Again, you could do it by spoonfuls, or you can just use your hands and crumble it over. That looks like it's getting close to half. So now it's just waiting for my apple pie filling to be done for the next step. I will make a thickener for, that's what the cream and the flour is for. Here, as soon as my apples are pork tender. And again, that thickener would be 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Now, I like to buy ultra pasteurized cream. It is more expensive, but that way it lasts longer in the refrigerator. So you don't have to feel like you have to use it up so quickly. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the cream. I'm going to use my spoon to mix that up. Okay. My apples are tender. So I'm going to go ahead and add my thickener and stir that in. I add it a little at a time so it doesn't clump quite so much. I have a bad habit of pounding my utensils on the edge of my bowls and pans. It makes a lot of noise. Okay, so see how thick that's getting now? Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat up just a little bit and let this boil for just a minute. Again, you don't want to boil it for too long and have any of that sugar burn. And then I'm going to reduce the heat here in just a minute and let it simmer just for a few minutes to thicken up a little bit more. But as you can see, the thickener is doing its job, and it's getting pretty thick as it is, so it shouldn't take very long at a simmer. With the videos that we're doing, my friends and my family are doing here on Cooking with Some Friends, it's kind of funny. I have a 5-year-old grandson who thinks I should say at the end of every video, don't forget to ring the bell. So I guess that just shows how in tuned or how accustomed to using those types of pages little kids get to be. Okay, so now that our filling is nice and thick, we're going to go ahead and dump this over our cookie dough. That smells so good. When we're done putting that over the dough, we want to make sure then that we add the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to sprinkle that with about half of the cinnamon sugar. Again, you can use the package that comes in the cookie mix, or you can make your own. So it'll just give it a little sweeter, a little more cinnamon flavor. I want to make sure I use the rest of my dough. And again, we're going to do the same method where we're just sprinkling it, crumbling it, or again, you can drop it by spoonfuls if you prefer, over the top of our apple mixture. Okay, now I'm going to sprinkle the remaining part of my cinnamon sugar over the top of this. And then I'm going to drizzle it with some of our caramel apple topping. Now, it doesn't take much of this, just you want to give it that caramel apple flavoring. So again, we just want to drizzle maybe, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of it over the top. Okay. My caramel has been in the refrigerator, so it's got a mind of its own. Okay, so once that's done, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put this in a 375 degree oven, and it's going to be in there for about 30 to 35 minutes. So when it's done, we'll go ahead and let it cool a little bit, and then it's great topped with ice cream or just on its own. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining us for this session of Cooking with Some Friends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And find us on Facebook at Cooking with Some Friends.